Okay, Mesechta Shvuis, Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph. We're starting from the 12 lines from the top. Maskiv, Lord Abba Ula. We learned 4 Mekaydes from where by Shvuis was about the Mekaydes that we brought. 4 Mekaydes. Abelazar learned out. From where do we know that by Shvuis Haydis, if somebody denies about knowing testimony and really and he says he doesn't know and really he does know? From where do we know that he'll be chayv karma? Only if it's a monetary thing, only if it's tviyas mameh. So the first one was Abelazar. Abelazar learned from the Oyin.
Then we also had cases where it could be a goyim tamam.
Now we're not talking about that. Now we're going to just talk about the tviyas mameh, the marker for tviyas mameh. So we learned it out from Oyin. By Shvus HaPikadin, it says Lashon Oy. If you look by Shvus HaPikadin, it says Oy b'sisumas yod, Oy the Gazel Oy Ashkes Hamisa. That's the beginning of the pasuk talks about Bechichesh Ba'Hamisa B'Pikadin, and then it says Oy b'sisumas yod, Oy the Gazel Oy Ashkes Hamisa. And then you have the same Oy by Shvus Haydis. So where does it say by Shvus Haydis? By Shvus Haydis it says Oy Ra, Oy Yoda. So you see, so we learn out from the Oyin, just like the Oyin by Shvus HaPikadin is talking about Tviyas Mamin, so too the Oyin, we make the Gzeiras Shavah that by Shvus Haydis is only by Tviyas Mamin. Here. Rabbar is the question Oy that says by Shvuis Bitui, because yesterday we concluded the only because we said why don't we learn from Oy from Seita, the Oyin from Seita? Why don't we learn from Oyin and Reitzeyach? So we said because by Reitzeyach there's no Shvua, by Seita it's with Hakoyin. We're looking dafka a Shvua without a Koyin. Without a kohen, which is tviyas mameh, says that, and only where do we find that there's only a shvur without a kohen? Only by tviyas mameh. By reitzech, it's without a shvur, and by soit it's not without a kohen. So the Gemara says, no, we have a different place. We can learn out from shvuis bitui. By shvuis bitui, over there it says, oy nefesh ki sishava levat b'shosayim lahara ilahetiv. And it's not Lav Dafka talking about monetary things, Tviyas Mameh. So let's learn out from Yechichu, let's prove from there. You don't have to have Dafka Tviyas Mameh. There, by Shvuis Bitui, you have a Shvur, it's not the coin that's being Mashbiah. Umedam Shalai B'Tviyas Mameh. And it's talking about Shalai B'Tviyas Mameh, so what's your Raya? It has to be talking about B'Tviyas Mameh. And the Gemara mistaber mepikad navli lemelef. It's more mistaber to compare Shvus Haydis to Shvus HaPikadin Shekain, because the Torah compares with that they both have the same word sechta in the pasuk. Nefesh kisechta, right? You have sai sechta by Shvus HaPikadin because it says v'nefesh kisechta v'shama kol. And you also have and by Benafsh Kisachto Mala Mal Ba B'Chichas B'Amisa, and by Shvus Haydis you have Benafsh Kisachto. So that's why we compare Dafka to Shvus HaPikadin. So we compare Shvus Haydis better to Shvus HaPikadin because of the word Sechta. We should have learned it out from Bita. Shekain, we find the word Chatos. The shvur, he wants to say Yemakish the Chiyav Shvur Shechayam Malay Chatas from a Chiyav Shvur Shechayam Malay Chatas, meaning that they have in common that they bring a carbon Chatas versus a Pekatan brings a carbon Asham. Even though it's a carbon Yedid by Shvuis Bita, but it's in the Geda of a Chatas. It says over there, behaving the kingdom not saying Kizba Isidis Isim Lechatas. But that chatas is referring to a Hakam Mo'el V'Yeda, but it's called chatas. But when you're referring to a Shvus B'Kadin, there it's a Asham. It says over there by Shvus B'Kadin, it says V'es Hashamoy Yovi LaHashem Ayotom In Latzim L'Hakecha. So there you see, there it's a Asham. It's not the same. It says if you want to have a Mistabim, if you can't have a little Melech. I'll tell you, it's more reasonable to say that we learn it out from Pikadin. More than Shvuis Bita. Shekain, because there's so many similarities of Shvuis Ha'edus to Shvuis HaPikadin. Number one, Chet. Number one, you have the union of the word Sechta that says by side by Shvuis Pikadin and side by Shvuis Ha'edus. Number two, B'mezid. By Mezid, somebody who swears a Shvuis Ha'edus or Shvuis HaPikadin, L'Sheka B'mezid, so he says over there, you're going to be chayiv. You're going to be chayiv akabim, but shvuis bitui. It says v'dalam imenu that you're only going to be chayiv if it's a shegig, not amazing. But amazing, you're going to be chayiv malchus by shvuis bitui. Versus over here, shvuis bikading and shvuis heidus are going to be chayiv achatas, because amazing is like shegig. Tave v'kafrei. You have to have a tviyah and a denial. You have to have a tviyah and a denial side by pikading shvayit. Side by Shvus Eidus, he has to be Teveya. If he's not Teveya, then he's going to be part from a carbon. Just by the mere fact that he's running after the Eidim doesn't mean that he said anything to the Eidim. He just ran after the Eidim, but he didn't say anything to the Eidim. It's like Rabbi Hechtner Eilat said. He says, I think it was Gulchovsky from Rehovot. He went on Yom Kippur. He shook the guy's head. He says, that you're not allowed to say greet one another. But it doesn't say you're not allowed to make with the hands and physical thing. Then it says here, he's saying, by Tfias, Shvus Ha'edus, even if he's running and he's showing all the simanim that he wants them to say Ha'edus for him, as long as he didn't say it, then the halacha is that they're part from a carbon. So it has to be Tviyah Kafre. It has to be a Tviyah. So that's the has more similarities. Shvus HaPikadin to Shvus Ha'edus than to Shvus Bitui. And it only goes on the past. Hagam Shvus Bitui goes on the past, but the Iker is Lahara Elahedus is for the future. So you have so many similarities. If you count, you see five similarities or four similarities. 1, 2, 3, 4 similarities. Says you want to have it up, but you should learn out from Shvuis Bitui because Shekain has similarities to Shvuis Bitui. Chatos. Number one, the carbon that is brought is a chatos. That's what they have in common. Versus Shvuis HaPikadin is a asham. Sheyarda, that it has the inyan of carbon elaviyadit. Okay, that it goes according to the means of a person. And lachaimish. By Shvus Pikadin and Shvus Ha'edus, if there was a denial in the Ha'edus, there's an additional punishment of a chaimish. So they have these three. This is by Bitui. No, I'm sorry. This Mashenkim by Bitui. There isn't the chaimish, right? Says you want to hanach nefisha. The Shvus Ha'edus with Shvus HaPikadin has more similarities. These were by Shvuis Bidish. By Bitui there's a Choymesh, and by Shvuis Ha'edus there's a Choymesh. Okay? Shvuis Ha'edus or Bitui don't have the punishment of Choymesh. I'm sorry. They both have in common that you don't pay the Knas of Choymesh. Only by Shvuis HaPikadin there is by Pikadin. Yeah. But the Pearl Mamish, he says, Hanech, the Shvus Ha'edus to Shvus HaPikadin, the Fishon has more similarities. It has 4, like we just brought down. As with the Chet, Mezid, Tavi, V'Chafrei, and Avrei. But here is only Chatas Yom. Right now we see that there's more similarities of Shvus Ha'edus with Shvus HaPikadin versus the Shvus HaBitui. No. Now we had a different marker. What did Rabbi Akiva say? Rabbi Akiva had the marker from where do we know by Shvus Ha'edus is only by Tviyas Mamein? He says because it says V'hoyeke Yeshem la'achas mei eila. The ois men means of these, meaning not all of them. Sheyesh me eila shu chayav. There are Shvus Ha'edus that if he denies in the shua, he denies in the testimony that he's going to be chayav akav. Yes, me eila shu pata, because me eila only means part of it is chayav, but there's a part that's pata. Her case up. What's the cases? Says you want to try if there's a Tviyas Mamein where he denied So then Taka Chayv, he's going to be Chayv a carbon. But if it was other than money, it's potter. He's going to be potter, like Yichus. He wanted to swear that he's a Kohen or a Levi. He's not a Ben Gerusha. He's not a Cholol, or he's not a Ben Chalutza. The Mishnah brings all these
that
cases.
comes under the element of,
So
Eidos.
So then he's potter. That's not a Tviyas Mami. He's going to be potter if he deny potter b'makarbon.
What does he get?
If he denying the testimony.
What does he get? Nothing.
If he denied the shegeg, he's going to be potter. How do you know to exclude the dava acher, the yichus? Maybe you're excluding Tviyas Mami. For Tviyas Mami, you're not going to be a chayv carbon. What makes you say?
How can you say?
Why not? Which way? For us, nish. Why is one better than the other?
It has to do with money.
So the Yemane Rabbi Akiva, Oyin the Rabbi Elazar Sameach, because Rabbi Akiva, he also relied on the Gzeir Shava that Rabbi Elazar brought down from the Oyin, so that you have the Oy by how do you call it, by Shvus Haidis, and you have the Oy by Shvus Apikadin, and just like Shvus Apikadin is Tviyas Mami, so too here it's Tviyas Mami. So, if Rabbi Elazar, if Rabbi Akiva is relying on the Gzeir Shava, Rabbi Elazar, what's the difference?
Even though he's voicing something.
Yeah, there is a difference. Mashbiya Eidei Karka, Rabbi Elazar, that if he's Mashbiya Eidim who know Eidus about somebody stealing Karka from his friend, that it says somebody was stole a Karka from his friend, and the river flooded and broke down the wall and flooded the whole field. So he could say, according to Rabbi Elazar, he could say to the Nigzal, hey, this field is yours, now replace me. According to Rabbi Elazar, that's a Geneva. There is a Geneva. There's a Gzeila by Sada. So Chayavin, if the Eidim deny in the testimony that they could have testified to be Mechayiv the Gazlan, and they deny, they're going to be Chayiv HaKarbon. But Rabbi Akiva put in. So in monetary, he says, in monetary, they were arguing.
Why does Rabbi Akiva say you're potter?
Because he says there's no Gzeila by Karka.
Oh.
And therefore all the other dinim don't apply. We have Yeichna and the Amahasa must be Eide Karka v'Kaf b'Shaka Afilu Rabbi Elazar Pturim. According to Rabbi Yeichna, who says that must be Eide Karka and he denies, even according to Rabbi Elazar, he's potter. So
Was they Nishmoyim al
Karka? It's not. It's not. Maybe he holds also. It's not, the Gzeil is not shaykh. Ladas Rabbi Yeichna must be Eide Karka Pturim. Fimas Kos Hagimara Sham Rabbi Yeichna Yeinu Shafilu Rabbi Elazar Hasei v'Heishes Gzeila. Even though he says it refers to Karka, Moida, but Shvus Apikadri, or Meila Gam Shvus Haidis is not Noig Bekarka because of a special drasha in that Pasha. He's going to say later what the drasha was. Okay. So he says, even according to Rabbi Elazar, who says it's Pata, Hacha Ma'ika, Bein Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Akiva. So what's going to be, over here, what's going to be the difference between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Akiva? They're both learning out from the same Zayda Shava. Yeah, so he said Me'ela is coming to exclude. It's coming to exclude that Davach, but Tviyas Mamin, you're going to be Chayiv. Why? Because of the Gzeir Shava that Rabbi Elazar brought down. You're not saying anything new, unless you're excluding something more. So he says, yeah, Ikvana Yedik Knas. Eidim who know about Eidus, about somebody to be, that his Chav should be Chayiv Knas. So according to Rabbi Elazar, it's just like Mamin. Because Rabbi Elazar holds Meidem Knas, V'achakach Bo Eidim. You're still going to be chayiv, even though he's made a knas. Normally, made a knas is potter, because it says Asher Yashim Leikim. Only if the bezdin will be Mashiach, the loisha Mashiach Satzman. But if he was Mashiach Satzman, he's potter. But if the Eidim came afterwards, Rabbi Elazar says he's going to be chayiv, like we learned yesterday. So Rabbi Elazar holds that the Eidim will be chayiv a carbon, but according to Rabbi Akiva says by the knas he's going to be pater. Obviously, Rabbi Akiva will hold back Rabbanan, and by the knas is pater even after they didn't come. So the Gemara Rabbi Yossi gave a third marker from where we learn out. From where do we learn out that it has to be a Tviyas Mamein by Shavuos Haidis? He brings down the marker from the words V'hu Eid Oira Oyada. Either there's a Re'iyah or there's a Yediyah. Be'edus HaMiskayem is Be'riyah B'lo Yediyah or Be'yediyah B'lo Re'iyah Kas Medaba. It's talking about, when it says Oyada means that it was, I was soon going to say what the cases are, but it's either that he saw an act, but he doesn't know the story behind it, or he knows the story behind it, but he didn't see the act, and we'll soon give the cases for it. But that could only be by mammon. It cannot be by any other other case.
You can't say that he knows yichus. How do you
We're soon going to talk about that as well. So Papa said to Abaya, "Lema Rabbi Yisrael, let's let the Rabbi Yacha. Let us say Rabbi Yisrael, he does not hold like Rabbi Yacha, who is done. Rabbi Yacha, because Rabbi Yacha paskins even by Yediyah below Yediyah, not by monetary values. Where the Tanya Rabbi Yacha Gomel. A gomel ha'oiche, a gomel, the way the gemalim would have tashmish, it would be back to back, and the gemalim. I don't remember. I think in Sanhedrin, gemalim.
If you found another animal dead
next to it, that has to be
because they were having.
They were had tashmish. They would snoo, and if they saw somebody looking, the camels, they would kill anything around it. So they found by Nagmal, they didn't say Gamal Harik with Sidah. They found a Gamal that was dead on the side. The Yedush Hazeh, this is the Gamal, the one that was backing up to do Tashmish, is the one that killed him. So the Bailam Achayev to pay, even though they didn't see, it's only circumstantial evidence. It's Umat, it's Abshatzo. Because this guy was backing up to have Tashmish, and then we found the Gamal dead on the side, even though we didn't see him kill it, he's still going to be Chayev. That's the Iya. No, I'm sorry. That's Yediyah, and that's it's really Umdonus. Yeah, it's a shatzung without seeing it. Now, circumstantial is the right word. Says the Gemara. Papa finishes off. The is like Rabbi Yacha. If he holds like Rabbi Yacha, meaning if Rabbi Yossi Agalili holds like Rabbi Yacha, that you could be done and be mechayiv even without seeing. So, B'din Nefesh is not mashkachas la. I can find your case of Din Nefesh where the person didn't see, but it's for sure the guy killed him. Where it's a famous story. Reb Shimon ben Shatach, like the story of Reb Shimon ben Shatach. The Tanya that we learned in Abraisa. Of Reb Shimon ben Shatach. Reb Shimon ben Shatach says, Era ben Achama, meaning he won't see the comfort. In Loida Isi Ach Cherotz, of the Chum. If he didn't, he saw this one person running after his friend into a broken down house. But that's the Achrov. And Shimon Shatach ran after him. He saw when he ran in, he saw the killer with the sword and blood dripping off the sword. The alleged killer was holding a sword with blood dripping. The Harut Mefarfe, and that person is shaking right before his death. He's dying right before his he was shaking from the nerves. Amarti Lois, I said to the one that was holding the knife, the sword, Russia. Who killed this person? It's only me and you over here. It could only be you. You're holding on to the knife. I know I didn't kill him. Must be you. I don't have the power to kill you because it has to be 2 or 3 Eidim. So what do you see there? Only the Eibush should punish you, judge you properly. And the Gemara says over there that they say that he didn't leave the schurva till a snake bit the killer and he died. So there in Sanhedrin we learned, this is Mamish in Sanhedrin. Why did he get killed by a snake? Snake is in Sanhedrin. So the Cheda, he shouldn't have gotten killed by a snake. A snake is Sreifa. And for killing a person is Cherev. So then the Gemara said he did some other Aveda that he was Chayiv Sreifa. And it was Kim Levi. That's why he was killed by a Nachash. But Mamish, what do we see over here? That you have the same case of Yediyah, Umdonus. And what did Shimon ben Shatach say? We cannot kill him. We can't judge on that. So you see, you don't follow if we follow the sheet of Ravacha, then over here they should have Shimon ben Shatach should have killed him. From this that he didn't kill him, Zeraya that Rabbi Yossi Aguli doesn't hold like Ravacha Menagaya to Umdanus. Says Gemara, no, Afilu take Islay the Ravacha. You could even say Rabbi Yossi Aguli is masking Rabbi Acha. And he says the Eidus Hamiskayim Zbrim Yediyah is only by Din Amanis. How do we know that? Beis Shloima, he says, Yediyah b'lo Re'iyah mashkachas la. You can find Yediyah without Re'iyah by non-dinei mamanis. Like the story with Shimon ben Shetach. There was the Yediyah that Shimon ben Shetach knew that he killed him, but he didn't actually see him kill him. So that we could find. It says in the pasuk, Oy Yada. You remember what was the words? Oy Ra, Oy Yada, Oy Ra. Right. So he says you have to have both. It has to work both ways. It has to be Yediyah b'lo Re'iyah, or it has to be Yediyah b'lo Yediyah. So he says Yediyah b'lo Re'iyah you can find by something that's not dinei mamanis. How could you find a case that should be only Re'iyah without Yediyah by Ritzicha, by other cases?
Maybe you couldn't tell if the guy his knife went into him. It looked like he made a motion to stick him with the knife. So it could be a Re'iyah, but it's not a true Yediyah.
No. It says, Re'iyah means he saw the full act, but there was no Yediyah.
What does that mean?
So by money, we had already by money. Like he has, what was the case in Re'iyah? He saw a person counting $200 and giving it to another person.
So we don't know what's the reason why.
But they didn't. The two of them didn't know if it was a matana, it was alva. And Shimon told Reuben, "You owe me $200." So Reuben says, "No, I don't. I never borrowed. You never gave me even $200." He says, "I have Adam." He says, "Bring the Adam. That's all you give it, and then he's chayav to pay just on the Re'iyah."
Because he didn't give a right to Taina.
Right.
He would have said, "I paid you."
That would have been something else. But over here, when it comes to Ritzicha, even if you saw the act, it's not enough. Don't you have to know it? Was it a guy who killed him? Or you saw Harag? Or whether it was a guy or a yid? Or the one who was killed, was he a person who was a healthy person or he was about to die? These things you have to know. And if you don't know, you can't kill. You can't kill the murderer. So therefore, since it doesn't work, in the pasuk it says, O Yoda, O Yira. So it has to work both ways. It has to be a Yediyah b'lo Re'iyah and Re'iyah b'lo Yediyah. And the Re'iyah b'lo Yediyah does not work by Ritzicha, so therefore it has to be by Mamanis. But Rabbi Yosef HaGlili holds that the Shuas HaEdis, if there was a Kvira in Edis that they could have testified to be Mechayiv somebody in a Knas, Potter, he's Potter, because the Isal Kadai Chayiv, if you're going to think that the Eid would be Chayiv by Eid Knas, says the Gemara in the Yediyah b'lo Re'iyah Ashkechon law, even though you can have Yediyah b'lo Re'iyah, how could you have Yediyah b'lo Re'iyah? That they saw a man going in with a psula into a cheder, and there was no other person in that cheder. And when they came out, they found that she's a biula. So for sure, this man.
How'd she become biula if she was a psula when she walked in?
Right, walked in with a man, and he was the only man, so he's the only man. Yeah. So therefore, there you could find that he's going to be chayav chamishim shekel the knas. But Re'iyah b'lo Yediyah, like Eidis Sha'onas, right? Or Peter Naida l'chayav knas chamishim shekel.
Well, no, b'lo Yediyah means that he didn't see the actual act.
He didn't see the actual act, but they saw her. That they went in, she went in as a psulam, when she came out, she was a biula. So that is enough to be mechayim. But Re'iyah b'lo Yediyah, don't you have to know in Nachris Baal if he was Boyal Nachris, or Basisol Bala, or Psula Bala, Biula Baal. These details you have to know. You can't say, oh, he's Chayiv Chamish Mishkom. You have to know the whole around. You have to know it's a guy, Yid, a Psula, a Biula, it's different things.
Who's the guy? The guy that went in? Oh, you don't?
The woman.
The woman is a guy?
Yeah, Nachris. If she was a Nachris. Or it was a Bas Yisrael. Or whether it's a Psula or a Biula.
You can't talk to her?
You could talk to her, but you have to find out. But if you don't have any knowledge, you don't say, you're already Chamishim Shkolim because there was a Biula. Yeah. You have to know all this. You have to know. Sure. Re'iyah b'lo Yediyah is not, and if he doesn't know, he can't be Mechayiv.
It's a discovery.
Yes. Yes, Rabbi Yehuda. Another sat before Rabbi Yehuda with Yosef. Rabbi Yehuda would come up boile, and Rabbi Yehuda was sitting and he asked the Shaila. He says, I was counting money, And that money that I was counting one after another, Bahalva was for Alva, Bifnei Pliny. And the money that I was counting, the 200 zuz that I was counting out to give it to the guy, and there were two Edom that were watching how I was counting. But there were Edom on the outside watching, but they didn't know. But the Nitzvah didn't know there were Edom watching from the outside. And they came and testified that about the Teveya. Listen, he did. We saw he counted the money, he gave it to you. Mine, what's the deal?
The Teveya gave you the money to the
is he chayv to pay or not? Rav Amnuna said back to Rabbi Yehuda, Allah, the Nitva, Matoim, what's his time? Let's hear what he says. We can't make up sad. Very good. He says, if he says he never counted money, he never counted, there was no such a thing to count the money. So now we're talking about a Hosek Kafran. He's a Hosek Kafran. On that money, he's a Hosek Kafran. He shows he's lying mamis to his crooked teeth. So therefore, even after he comes out of Bezdin, he has to pay the money to the Teveya. And he's not believed with a shvur because he's a Hosek Kafran. And he in Shakli, and if he says, I took the money, you're right. He gave me that money. It did Shakli, but it was my money.
It wasn't a loan.
It wasn't a loan.
It'll
pay back. Yeah, so if the Aiden came even after the Aiden testified, my Havi, what? So what? Why should we believe the Tevei over the Nitzvah? It's one against one. I'm not disputing the Aiden not on anybody's side. It's one against one.
He says the same thing.
Right, it's the Tevei against the Nitzvah. And if it's the Tevei against the Nitzvah, so Hamitzvah B'Chaveri all about You can't. You can only be Mitzvah with Aiden. You don't have that kind of Aiden. The Aiden only saw that he gave it to him. They don't know if it was paid back.
But he's claiming that he gave back the money that
it was my money that I took back from him. Yes. So therefore,
no, that I get when he took back. He gave
the money. He gave me back my money. It wasn't money that he lent me. The Teveya says I lent the Nitva money. The Nitva says, "What are you talking about? That was my money that you gave me back." So now the Edom that come and testify they saw him give him the money means nothing. So you have only the Teveya and the Nitva.
The case was Fakir. He says the case was that you lent me money and I paid you back.
Correct. Nitva says I'm collecting back my money. You gave me back my money. So you have the Nitva and the Teveya. So now the Teveya cannot just grab from the Nitva because there are two Edom that saw an act and know nothing about it. Okay, Amalei. Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Amnuna, to who was his Talmud, he says, you come into the Beis Medrash, you answered very smart. You analyzed the story well. So come inside, because to bounce it off for you, I get my eye gets sharper. I remember what it says. Hamachim Asarabah. You know the Talmidim Hamachim Asarabah, like it says in Pirkei Avos. He brings it down. Obvious vav. Yeah, that he's wanted such a Talmud, which is Machim Asarabah. There was this person that said to his friend, I counted money of a halvot, which I lent you on the side of this pillar. So the Nitva said, I know, I never went through this side of the Amid.
But he's not denying the money. He's denying that I was
so he says the story never happened. Also today, Sadi Asidobei and two Edom came, they hitched the mind, but Sadi Amon two Edom came and testified that Chayzik fished if there's the side of the Amid. Amalei Shlakish, Chosek Kafin, he became Chosek Kafin. Now there's a story. He says there's a short I saw. I think I have it on my phone. So he brought down a picture of somebody, Stefanski, on a tree, put down the Hashiyot. So they asked him, "Why do you have a picture of a? Why does the guy on the tree put a laminated Hashiyot sign on the tree?" He says, "Because there's somebody who always pishes by my tree." So anyway, says he who is this? This is like a Persian Pesach. What is me kama? Did he say I never passed by the summit? But it never happened that there was alba by this summit. But he didn't mean he's not a Musa Kafra because he once went to the Amid to make number one. That he did go to the summit. He made there. He made number one there. So how can he say he never went? This never happened by this Amid.
So it means it didn't happen at this time.
Oh, so he says it didn't happen. He wasn't referring to Mashtan Zayin. He was referring to Dafke Deis Gavavo. Says the Gemara Ikta. Others say Ahud Yom Lechavei Man Manis Lecha. I counted the Mana Bahava. B'tzad Amud Zeh on this side of the Yom to give you as Alba. Late, so the Nitva says Lo Yavak B'tzad Amud Zeh Meyoyla. Now he added the Be'elam. He never went there. Nafke Bei Sades Aiden came. The Hishtam Mahim B'tzad Amud Zeh. Aiden came and said, "You did. You were here. You made over here." Rav Nachman said, "Hulsik Kafin." He said, "Hulsik Kafin."
Therefore, he's got to pay.
Therefore, he's got to pay. He's not going to be able to swear differently. Rav Nachman komis l'loydami alei inish. Anything that a person, it's not like a milestone. It's not something that somebody. It's not in his mind. Who the lav adaite. He does it without registering in his mind to remember. It's not something that a person remembers. He doesn't. No, he doesn't count where exactly did I go to the bathroom. You go to the park, you go off on the side. You remember exactly where you made. No, so you guys.
That's why he denied it.
That's why he didn't. That's why he said I was never there. He meant to negate to the Asik of the Halva again, even though he says he was me'olam, not there. What does he mean me'olam? Me'olam b'negei to the Halva. Anything that where there's a simish left.
So what does it mean
Me'olam means b'negei to the Halva, something that the person will remember.
That he used to go
But to go to the bathroom over there.
By this tree, maybe there was so many trees. He went to the other tree.
So he said that a person doesn't. There's not some left. Like the pasuk was mechayiv a carbon by Shua Saidis. The chiyuv b'pikadin, and it says by a chiyuv b'pikadin. So just like over there, it's only talking about betvius mamin. So too, it's only betvius mamin. He made a comparison, like just like by pikadin, right? By pikadin, somebody who swears and he swore falsely, it's only by tvius mamin. So too, by Shua's haidus. So Rabbi Yosef then added l'chayra kavachema. And what did he make a kavachema? He made a kavachema madoch. I'm saying Rab Shimon's fourth. Rab Shimon was the fourth makkar.
Oh, okay.
So where did Rab Shimon learn it out from? So he says Rab Shimon learned it out from Pikadin. He made a comparison, a binyanab, and then he made a kavachema. Madoch Pikadin, Nashim is Ka'anoshim, Kravim is Kirchaikim. They could all testify. Women could testify, Kravim could testify by Pikadin. Psulim is Kikshedim, right? And nevertheless, you say that it's only between Samami. Eidus, Shvus Eidus, Nashim cannot testify. It's more chamor, it's more exclusive. Kravim cannot testify. Psulim, meaning Gazlanim, cannot testify. So for sure, it's only it has to be exclusively by Tviyas Mami. Says they laughed in Marava.
Did we have this expression before?
We had it before. One minute, let me just tell you that he slugged up the Kavachema, saying what? The Pikadin, that they didn't make the Mujba Mepiachedim, somebody who's made to swear through others, and he answers Amen. Is not going to be chayv kinishba be'atzmai. By Pikadin, that's only mujba piachenim they didn't make umezid kishoygeg, right? Amazing they made like a shoygeg. They didn't make amazing like a shoygeg, and they didn't make a mujba like somebody who swears on his own. And somebody who's amazing, he's not going to be chayv come like a shoygeg. But by shvus haidus, it's more exclusive. That's more chum, I'll tell you, because they made the mujba, the one that was made, somebody else made him swear, and he answered Amen, as if he swore himself. And they made somebody who was amazing in intentionally lying by shvus ha'edus, like a shegeg that will be chayv a carbon. So that's how they slugged it up. No, by Shvus Ha'edus, Mezes like a Shegi, that you'll be Chayv a Korban. Okay. And not Malkis. Like a Korban, you'll be Chayv Malkis for Mezes. So anyway, Machachu Alab Marava. So on this, they laughed. Oh, so at the end he says, we learn it out from Gzeira Shavous, Sechta Sechta. Okay, so it says, in Ma'ariv, they laughed on this, the upshlag of the Kavachema, and then they said, we learn out from the Gzeira Shavous, Sechta Sechta. Says the Gemara, what was the whole Gelachta? The Ktani, because in the Braisa we learned that Rabbi Shimon was mafrich the Kavachema. How did he shlag up the Kavachema? Ma le Pikadei, by Shvuis Pikadei, she came loy osa kasa mushba kinishba. They didn't make somebody who others made him swear, and he answered amen like somebody who swears himself. And they didn't make a mezid kishayge, that somebody who intentionally lied by Shvus Haidis, that he brings a come like a shayge. Versus Shvus Haidis, they did. That's how you slugged it up. Let's look into it. How does Reb Shimon know that he's going to be chayiv a carbon by if he swears by Shvus Haidis Mushba? If he swears on his own, how do we know he's going to be chayiv a carbon? Huh?
When he swears on his own, if not what?
That he himself swore. How do we know he's going to be chayv a carbon? Says the Gemara, because the Gamar, he learns Shvus Haidis when Shvus HaPikadin. By Shvus HaPikadin, it talks about the guy swore himself. It says the Gemara, Pikadin Nami, Mujba Piachenim Nigma Haidis. So by Pikadin, why do you say Mujba Piachenim is a different din? If you're learning it out with a Gzeira Shavous Sechta Sechta, it should work both ways. Ein Gzeira Shavous, so you don't make a Gzeira Shavous halfway, it has to go both ways. So why don't we say that Mujba Mipi Achenim is Kinishba by Pikadin as well? So says the Gemara, what? That's your question? That's the joke? Dilma, Rabbi Shimon Bekavachem Ma'isila. Maybe Rabbi Shimon says he learns it out Mineu Bay from Shvus Haidis itself. How? Because Shvus Haidis, we said, Mipi Achenim. It only talks about Mipi Achenim, that others made him swear, and he answered Amen, that he'll have to bring a carbon. Madoch, if it's Mujba Mipi Achenim, is going to be Chayv a carbon. Minei Ubei, you can make a Kavachem if he's Mujba Mipi Atzmai. Mipi Achenim, if he's Chayv a carbon. Mipi Atzmai, like Kol Shkein. For sure he's going to be Chayv, so it has nothing to do. So he's not really learning it out from Pikadin, he can be learning it out from Shvus Haidis itself. So you can't demand Shvus HaPikadin should be learned out from Shvus. So what was the Gelachta? Rather that the Mezid is Kishaygig, that's what they were laughing. The Ktani, that we learned Mala Pikadin, she came layas by Mujba Kinishba. By Pikadin, they didn't make the Mujba Kinishba, and Mezid, they didn't make like a Shaygig. Mechli, let me look into it. Mezid Gabi Shvus Haidis. Amazed by Shvus Haidis Manolay. How do we know Reb Shimon that he's going to be a Chayv a carbon? Because like Sibay, by Shvus Haidis it doesn't say the word vanilla. So that means you don't have to have a shoygig. Vanilla means that he's a shoygig. It doesn't say the word vanilla. So therefore you Chayv amazed like a shoygig. Hachanami, so too by Shvus Bikadim, like Sibay vanilla. It doesn't say vanilla either. So we should say that amazed should be Chayv a carbon like a shoygig. So Avuna says, what's the joke? Dilma Mezid, the Lav Kishayim, the Pikadin, Nimeila, Reb Shimon Gamala, because it says the word Umalamal in that same pasuk by Pikadin. If you remember in the pasuk by Pikadin, it says the Lashon Umalamal. So and by Meila we say, Nafski Sech Umalamal, right? Umalamal Ba'Shem Chichis Ba'Mismeh Pikadin. So. You see, so it's compared to Meila. So you can compare it to Meila just like by Meila. Only a Shaygig is going to be a Chayv coming, not a Mason. So I'll say by Pikadin, since it has the Lashon Meila there, only B'Shaygig. And that's why I won't say, because it doesn't say the Nalam, you want to say because it doesn't say the Nalam, he should be Chayv Mason Shaygig. I'm telling you, but we'll learn it out from Meila. This in itself is a reason to laugh. If you're learning it out from Meila, why don't you learn it with a Gzeira Shavous from Meidus and be Chaim Meisik Yeshegeg? What makes you choose to learn it out from Meila over learning it out from Shvus Haidis where it doesn't say Ben Elam? It says it makes more sense to learn it out from Meila. Shekain because we compare. It says Me'ilah, the word Me'ilah here, and it says Me'ilah by the din of Me'ilah. It says you want to other Rabbi Meidus have a little Me'ilah. Shekain, because it says Sechta by Shavous Hapikadin, and it says Sechta by Shavous Haidus. What makes you to learn out from Me'ilah? Says you want to stop him in Me'ilah, have a little Me'ilah. Makes more reason. It's more reasonable to say to learn out from Me'ilah. Shekain Me'ilah has, first of all, Me'ilah has the word Me'ilah, right? By both, it's mentioned the word Me'ilah. Nana, they're both having enough. Side by Me'ilah having enough from Hegdish, and here he's having enough from the Pekadin. Kavua, that it's brought dafka a set carbon, Chaimesh, and there's also that the Knas of Chaimesh, and the Hashem, and there's the carbon of Hashem. You want to have a Meidus? Have a little Meilov. You should learn out from Eidus. Shavous Eidus. Why? Shekain. Because Shavous HaPikadin is similar to Chet. What does it mean, Chet? So he says over here, Chet is that it's by both it says Sechta. Hedyot, because Shavous HaPikadin and Shavous Eidus is not against Hegdish, it's against even non-Hegdish. Bishvua, that they're both by Shvua, Kaif Begadin and Kaif Be'edis, only Chayv if they're Eva B'Shvua, and Tave the Kafre, we said before that it has to be a Teveya and somebody being Kaifa, and the Oyin, and you have the Oy, the double Oys that said by Shavous Begadin and by Shavous Eidis. So it's about a Hanech, but if you count, but the Shavous Begadin to Me'ilah versus Shavous Begadin to Shavous Eidus, Shavous Begadin to Me'ilah inefficient. There's more. There's 5.
By Eidus.
With Shavous Eidus, the Shavous Begadin to Eidus is only 4. I mean 5, and by Me'ilah there's 6. So what was the joke? If you're comparing it more to Me'ilah, so it makes sense that in straight you shouldn't be like Meizid. He says, they say this is the reason why it was a joke. Rabbi Shimon learned out from Gzeir Shava Sechta Sechta. So why did he schlag up a Kavachema if B'Peil Mamish we don't follow the Kavachema? But B'Peil Mamish, if you're learning out from the Gzeir Shava, Mushba is Kinishba by Pekadin, and Mezid is Kishayig, because you're learning out from the Gzeir Shava. In fact, you want to Maichocha, so what's the time for the joke? So he said, Dilma, Kiparach, maybe because, why did they ask first do a Kavachema, Binyanab, and then a Kavachema, and slug up the Kavachema? Because Mekame, that they can lay Gzeir Shava before you come to a Gzeir Shava. So you first try to see, why did you need the Gzeir Shava? Why couldn't you learn it out from the Binyanab or Kavachema, and then you slugged up the Kavachema? But if you slugged up the Kavachema, Basa Kamalei Gzeir Shava. But if they were Mulchrich because of the Pircha and the Kavachema, then they had to come onto the Gzeir Shava. So then late Parach, then Takir, there was no Kasha. So what's your Kasha? Oh, because how do you make a Kavachema Chatchila if you're learning out from a Gzeir Shava and both sides have the same dinin? Maybe before they came to the Gzeir Shava, they tried to learn it out from a Kavachema. Right before using the Midah of Gzeir Shava. So it's about it's nicht azay. We know B'Peil Mamish the dinim are not the same. Va'amalahu Rabbi by Itli Abanam. Man Tana. Who's the Tana that learns Sheshuas Havikon Loinita is doing like Kapara? That amazing is not going to be like a Shoygate. Meaning you're not going to be able to be. You're not going to be Chayiv a carbon. Rabbi Shimon, it's Rabbi Shimon who learns it out from the Gzeir Shava, and B'Peil Mamish he doesn't learn out. He didn't make a Mushba Kinishba and a Mezik Kishaygate. So how do you say that after the Gzeir Shava, you're saying Mushba is Kinishba and Mezik Kishaygate? And think about it, Dilma Mezik Kishaygate part. Maybe Lefim Maskansa Gemara Rabbi Shimon was slugged up the Kavachema only from the gate to Pekadin, that they didn't make a Mezik Kishaygate. Benegeya versus Eidus they did make, by Shavous Eidus they did. Why? The Gamalam Me'ilah. Why? Because why didn't they make by Shavous HaPikadin that a shoygig should be like I'm sorry, a mezid should be like a shoygig, because by meila we said only shoygig is chayv hakab, not mezid, and shvus hapikadon has a lashon meila, so that's why I would say by shvus hapikadon mezid not going to be like a shoygig. But when it to muzba kinishba, that they'll say he has the same thing as shvus heidus. And because the Hanach Nefishim, why would we say that the Mezid won't have like a Shogun will compare more to Me'ilah than to Shvus HaEdus? Because there's more similarities of Shvus HaPikonim to Me'ilah. Ava Muzba Kinishba, wait, pardon. But Muzba should be Kinishba, that we can learn out of the Gzeda Shava. And also by Shvus HaPikonim, we're going to say Muzba is Kinishba. In fact, you might have said the Eidus, we're singing 11 Pikonim. Let us do the reverse. Let us say that by Edus, Shvus HaEdus, that the Mezid shouldn't be like a Shoygig. Learn it out from Pikodim Sechta, which Pikodim you learn out from Me'ilah, that Mezid is not like a Shoygig.
It's only a Shoygig.
Only a Shoygig. Mezid like a Shoygig. Ma Pikodim Shoygig in Mezid Loi. I should say, Shvus HaEdus, Shoygig in Mezid Loi. I should say also by Shvus HaEdus, only if it's a Shoygig in Mezid Loi. You want to hate the yellow Pikodim in Me'ilah. In order to learn out, that's why he wrote the Gemara answers by Edus. The Torah says Befedish, the Lashon Benelam. Gabi Shvus Biti, Gabi Tumas Mikdash V'Kedoshim, the Chulam Nema B'Hem Nelam. There it says I'm sorry. There by Shvus B'Kadim and by Tumas Mikdash V'Kedoshim, there it says Befedish, the Lashon Benelam. Number Benelam. You look calm, but by Shvus HaEdus like number Benelam. So if it doesn't say Benelam, it's as if the Torah is before saying you don't need a shegig. Lechayiv ala mizig shegig to be mechayiv amazing, like a shegig, because it says before it's as if it says before there's no Benelam.